Hello everyone, I'm Hillary with Dominion Tea, and today we're going to talk about Puer tea. So Puer tea is very unique in the fact that it is Camellia sinensis. However, it's undergone the fermentation process, which gives it a very different flavor profile and also allows the tea to be aged for decades. So Puer was kind of discovered by mistake, of course, on the Silk Road. As the tea merchants traveled, they discovered that the tea was changing flavor. And ultimately, science proved them correct and said, hey, that bacteria that is present naturally in those tea leaves was given the perfect environment to ferment and to start to eat at the tea leaves and change its flavor. Of course, nowadays, they're done in clean manufacturing rooms. But the product of history is a fabulous thing to play with. So the traditional shape of Puer is in the cake form because, of course, it was going to travel on horseback. And so you wanted to be able to pack as much tea as possible. So there's two types of Puer you should be aware of. There is Shu Puer, which is baked, and there's Sheng Puer, which is raw. And so what does that mean? So Puer traditionally starts with a green or white tea base. And when it's kept raw, it's going to kind of age that way. And so it's going to look like a really dark green tea as it ages. But if it's baked, it goes more towards a black tea. And actually, when you pour it out, it sometimes will pour as dark as a cup of coffee. So in the old form, it's a cake. In the more modern form, you can get it loose or even single serve. Also traditionally, especially in the Yunnan province, which is where Puer originated from, you will also find Puer aged in bamboo, such as this tube here. They're hand carved and they're given air holes. So you can see the Puer has got the proper air circulation so that the bacteria keeps growing and aging along with the tea. Puer can be aged for a very long time. Most people in the industry will recommend 30 years. You can cut into it at any point during the 30 years, but you can also take it well beyond the 30-year mark. So how do you consume Puer when it comes to you in this cake form? Let's talk about that. Traditionally, it is done in a gongfu pot. You're going to notice I have two different ones here in two different colors. So in China, it is one pot per tea. So typically, your darker, shorter spout is for your baked puers, and kind of your slightly longer spouts are for your raw puers. And the reason you do one pot, one tea, is the tea is going to go into the ceramic of the pot and change the flavor. And so you brew a different tea in that pot, and you're going to get a totally different flavor, especially since you're not going to take soap and water to these Yixing pots. So on top of the pots, what else do you need to break into a cake? So this cake happens to be sitting on a Puer tray. Now I left this lovely little sheet of paper here because part of the fun part of getting a Puer cake is you get the story of the cake from the tea master who makes it. And so you'll usually find inserted into your Puer a little slip of paper like this, maybe a little bit smaller in some cases or larger, telling you about the tea and where it came from. So we've taken the liberty of pulling out a cake already, putting it on the tray, and breaking off some of the leaves. So let's talk about your bamboo tray and your Puer tray here. So it's built for you to break apart the cake, capture the leaves while you're working so you don't lose anything, and give you a handy spout so you can pour it off into your teapot or into a container to work from. So here, let's talk about some of the tools you can use. So this is a Puer set. It comes with generally 4 tools. A pick to help you kind of insert and pry apart these leaves and keep them as whole as possible, along with kind of a flatter edged pick to do the same, tongs so you can pick up your tea leaves, and a scoop. So for our purposes here, let's take a look. We're going to take our pick and our pry, and we're going to kind of just take this little piece off the end, right, if I can get it in here. And what you would do is take something like this, take your tongs, and then into the teapot it goes. And that looks like a lot of tea, But generally speaking, in one of these small pots, you're going to fill it about a third of the way full of tea because you're going to be steeping in 15 to 30-second increments and preparing the tea. And so when you go to take care of a cake like this, right, after you've taken out all your tea leaves, you're going to wrap it back up in the paper it comes in. If you're going to store these things, we would honestly recommend you find a paper bag along with the rice paper, because the rice paper wrapper will age over time and start to degrade. And so to protect the scent, a good old brown paper bag will do the job. You do not want to put them in Ziplocs. It will cut off air circulation and kill the bacteria. So your tea will not age. So the fun part with the Puer is you're going to find that the flavor in the cake changes about every 6 months to a year. And so you're going to want to take some notes as you play with your Puer to figure out if you want to keep aging it or if you want to start drinking it. But usually when it finds its sweet spot for you, that's the time to go ahead and start to make it your daily tea, because that flavor is going to keep aging on you. So this is kind of a good introduction to what is an absolutely complex world of tea. And so we encourage you to explore further. And if you've got any questions or comments, feel free to leave them, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel.